Hey, how's it going everyone? Today I'm going to show you how to beat the map The Surge on escape mode on master difficulty in Gears 5. So this is the weekly hive that just released. If you're trying to get 100% on your tour of duty, you're going to need to complete all of these each week to get all of those medals completed. This one's not really a long map, although the second half of it is pretty tough and packed full of a lot of different enemies. The modifiers for this one pretty much just add a lot of different enemies to the mix. I think you get more Scions, more Pouncers, more filler enemies and more drones. In the second half there's a lot of those claw drones that do mega damage that are really tough to deal with at times. Some of you asked in my previous videos what my setup is exactly, and I usually mention it at the start of the video and the end, so it pays to pay attention for the first part and the last part if you're curious as to what skills I use. I'm not showing you the exact cards, but I kind of just describe them and hopefully you sort of know what I'm talking about. I use the bleeding bolt-hog damage, which when you get active reloads with the bolt-hog you do more damage. There's also the health buff with Mac where he has 50% increased health. I also use the bolt-hog capacity card. That means that if you have it maxed out you start with 24 shots instead of 12. The extended barrier duration, and also the card that allows you to do more damage in the Venom. Those two cards, the bleeding bolt-hog and the damage in the Venom, have got a little bit of a nerf for mech. They've been taken down to 60% at their level 5 variant, as opposed to 100, which is kind of a hard nerf for mech. But I guess they felt he was a little bit overpowered. He's still a really powerful character though. Keegan's really useful for this map also because there's quite a few grenades he can grab. And he has that card where he can carry more grenades. And that card where he can do bleeding damage with explosive weapons. So he's really useful to take along. Also, he has that ammo box that can just give Mac more bolt-hog ammo. So he can do mega damage with that bolt-hog. For this first part, we kind of come over here to the left and just chill and wait for the Juvies to come to us. If you go through the middle, you're going to run into two Scions that are kind of tough to deal with this early on when you don't have any weapons. There are 3 different directions you can go at the beginning: left, in the middle, or right. And we tend to go left, deal with those Juvies before we move up, because otherwise they're just going to come behind you. And then we move up to this point to bring the Pouncers in. And then move back a little bit just to deal with the Pouncers quickly before we try and fight the drones that are in this area. So Emil will get stuck in with some melees on that Pouncer. I'm trying to pick a few shots with the bolt-hog from the back. I like to stay back here just in case people go down. They can crawl back to me, or I can quickly jump in and save them and keep cover from the guys that are probably going to be crossing us from the back. So you'll either get 1 or 2 Pouncers. I think this time we only got 1, but it's kind of an RNG thing. I think 1 or 2 will show up from the left hand side. So once you've killed them, if there are any rejects in front of you, try and shoot them with the pistol to lure them over and deal with them rather than pushing up to try and kill the drones and then getting attacked by the rejects. It kind of makes it difficult to deal with the drones if you've got rejects buzzing around you. It's kind of why I'm sitting back here in case the other 2 guys go down from those rejects. But we got rid of them, and then you just want to do your best to pick off a couple of the drones, get Keegan a hand burst from the first couple of drones that show up, and then you've got some more rejects that will come from the left. Pick one of them off there. I like to try to grab a hammer burst myself for this map, and once I've got one I'll come over here to the left and try and deal with any rejects that might be hanging around, just so that they don't get behind the other 2 teammates that are trying to deal with those drones hanging around up there. Also, it just pays off to keep someone safe in case everybody else goes down. They can always crawl back to you, you know. So there's a supply room just behind us in this area, but there's only really grenades in it and a few weapons that I'm not really interested in. I think there's M-bars, lancers, and a bunch of grenades. You kind of just want to let Keegan grab the grenades, make sure he maxes out on them. There's also ammo pouches in the next area, so if you want, you can get the other 2 teammates to grab 1 grenade and then grab the ammo pouches in the next room to make sure everybody has grenades. But I like to take flashbangs for the last part, because you can sort of get stuck in a sticky situation where there's a bunch of Scions in front of you, and it kind of pays to have some flashbangs on hand, just in case you got your back up against the wall and you're trying to make a break for the exit. It really pays off to have those flashbangs and just stun everything up and run past it. Open up that situation for you. So, I'm going to let Keegan stock up on grenades here. He does crazy damage towards the end of this one and just takes out so many enemies that are in front of us. A little later in the run, there's also a couple of Scion enemies that have salvos. If you let Keegan grab a salvo and he's using that bleeding card that I mentioned earlier, it pays off to do mega damage to those Scions that are in your way. Also, a couple of Pouncers come towards the end, and that salvo is just a bit of a lifesaver. Also, those grenades, just spam out those grenades, you do mega damage. This hive isn't actually that tough. I feel like it's made a lot easier by the fact that the enemies don't have the regeneration mutator. That mutator is a nightmare to deal with, just because you've got to kill stuff so quick, whereas in this one you can sort of deal damage over time, take a break, get your health back, and that's really useful. So we got stims in there, also a couple of ammo boxes. I think there's enough ammo boxes for everybody to get 2 each. Keegan's also using that card where if he marks enemies, whoever kills those enemies gets a reduction of the time on their cooldown for their ultimate ability, which is very useful for everybody. You also want to make sure that Keegan is getting a few kills so that he can bring down the amount of time he has to wait for his ammo box, so you can get it before you move on to the second area. We like to use it in the shower to save a little bit of time. Everybody groups up, makes life a little bit easier. If you're doing lower difficulties, you might want to use it before that, and that way you won't have to use it each time when you load back into the safe room if you die. So, when we come out of here, there's a bunch of those claw drones that are a nuisance to get rid of. They're really tough and they do mega damage. Just going to have to do your best to work together to get rid of those guys. There's also Juvies and Rejects on the left and right, so watch out for them. If you're getting rushed by Rejects, you might want to fall back into the area that's just behind us right now, just so you can keep safe, keep someone alive in case everyone else goes down. We tend to just fall back here when the Juvies and the Rejects push, so that we're not getting crossed by claw drones, and it's easier for us to deal with these guys. So I think there's more Rejects on the right as well. We try to do our best to deal with these claw drones and then move over to the right side. Once we've killed them, it takes a little bit of time. We all sort of stick close to each other because they down you so fast. We can just get quick revives and not have to worry about it too much. Those Rejects are coming in, so I just fell back here just to make sure someone was kept safe. That's the Reject dealt with. There's another one. Sometimes when these guys jump over cover, they won't let you do the execution on them for some reason, but you can see here we're just using that tactic of keeping someone safe in that area. There's a lot of cover back there. The claw drones can't get to you too easily. So I think we've probably got one more claw drone to deal with that we can see. A lot of the enemies hiding away on the left and right side and also at the back. And it's kind of difficult to push up to get him to reveal himself, because if you do, you're just going to get down so quick. So we do our best to take out what we can see and then move over here to the right, clear out any Rejects that are left. Keep an eye out for Juvies. Also make sure you're watching out for the popper Juvies, just because those guys can finish you off if you go down. So if someone goes down and a popper comes in at the worst possible time, you can end up going down. Just keep your eyes open for them running in from the right side, also the left. Sometimes there can be poppers over there too that will run in early, so just be careful. So I'm doing my best to keep cover. These two small covers that are in front of us, I think if you're sitting on those, for some reason the claw drones can still shoot you through them, so be careful sitting on those. They don't seem to be able to hit all of their shots, but I've definitely been downed while I'm sitting in cover on those covers, so watch out. They seem to be smaller than normal covers. So yeah, just be careful. We've killed a few things that are down that corridor now, so we're moving up to the right, clearing out whatever Juvies we can. A bunch of Juvies will come. Again, more poppers. Get rid of those guys. They're dealt with. And then we like to move over to the right down here. There's a little sort of shack that provides really good cover, but I think there's a popper lurking in it. So I was kind of hesitant to move up into it and just sort of holding out here for a second, trying to deal with what I could. I was waiting for that popper to come out, because they're really, really dangerous, like I mentioned. They'll pretty much take you down, and they have a really big blast radius for some reason. Way bigger than a normal grenade. But there he comes, and he died from an explosive there. You can see Veracity, that's Keegan, doing mega damage with explosives to all of the enemies that are in front of us. He pretty much just spammed out grenades right there. And I think he killed a salvo Scion as well, meaning that he can get the salvo and just do a lot of damage with that. We all kind of grouped up here for the ammo box. I've got that Boltok ready to go. I've got like 50 bullets. I probably should have used the Boltok a little more in this run. I still had a bunch of ammo left with it at the end. Using that extended Boltok capacity card means you start with 24 bullets rather than 12, which is really useful. Allows you to spam it a little bit more at the beginning. Trying to stay close to the teammates. You can see Keegan doing big damage with that salvo, and once you've cleared out the enemies in this area, you pretty much just want to go. When you turn this corner, be ready with the flashbang. I was ready with the flashbang there just because Scions are going to be waiting on that corner for you, and maybe some Pouncers too. So be ready with a flashbang just to stun anything that's in front of you. And when you're running for the safe room, if you've got a meal with you, it pays to get him to drop the bubble shield just because it blocks bullets. We're not going to wait in it, but it will just stop any enemy's bullets that are coming from behind us. And then we've just got to deal with what's coming towards the safe room or the exit. And I just did my best to block bullets with the shield here, stand in the remaining gap. Keegan's chucking them grenades in, really helps out. Big damage on everything that's grouping up on that exit. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That was a really short one, much shorter than the others I feel. I think it's a good 5 minutes shorter than the others that we've done. Big thanks to Veracity and Joker for helping me with this hive. Keegan managed to get the MVP there. You can see how much damage he did with those explosives. Again, I'll talk one more time about the cards we were all using to make this run a little bit easier for us. I was using the bleeding damage with the Boltok, the increased Boltok capacity, the damage in the Venom increase, the extended barrier duration, and the health boost for Mac. Keegan was using the Eagle Eyes card, which allows him to mark more enemies, the card that allows him to reduce anyone's cooldown on their ultimate abilities when they kill the people he marks. The bleeding damage with the explosives was also very useful, and the two cards that increase the amount that the ammo drop gives you. And Emil was using I think he used score boost this time with Emil because he didn't feel like he needed to use all of his cards. The two most useful cards with Emil are the bleeding knife and the big knife. Also the stim card, that's the gold card with Emil, so you need to have him to level 16 to be able to have that stim. That just gives him a little bit of extra health. It recharges over time when you don't take damage. They're really the cards you need to use. You can mix up any free slots you have apart from those ones. Let me know in the comment section if you found this useful, everyone. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll link around some of my other escape videos if you'd like to check those out. Have a great day, and until next time, take it easy.